Doing all right. Busy weekend at the park this past weekend, and last weekend, and the weekend before, and this coming week.
And you keep having long lines at that Wendy in Hendersonville, so things must be good.
We're surviving.
Is Bubba on here?
Yeah.
Oh, there he is.
Brother Gilly, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Doing pretty good. Pretty good.
I don't see Keith on here yet.
Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to let you know the time is now 6:02 and you are streaming live.
Thank you, Tina.
Well,
Let me.
Mr. Bolt,
yeah, I'm trying to fix that there. So
you look like a ghost, Mr. Bolt.
I've been
Flash it
busy.
on and off.
Maybe that's best,
It's because of that person you got behind you is why.
Yeah, it's hard to shadow that guy. I tell you.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's what I want to hear.
Choose background. There we go.
Y'all gonna get some eat? Y'all gonna- all right. No, I'll eat. Here. See that.
Something wrong with my.
Mr. Bolt, you might want to take the wrapper off your camera.
Yeah.
Nice job, PA.
What's up, man?
Mr. Gilly, have you heard anything from Mr. Hessen?
I have spoken with Mr. Hessen. He cannot Zoom, but he's doing okay, and he's going to stay with us on the Parks Board. When we get back to live, he'll be ready to go.
Awesome.
Oh, there you go.
Good news to my ears.
Yeah.
Spit on the camera. So.
I think we're about ready to go. Just a reminder, any votes we have to do a roll call, and I'll call the roll when we get to that point.
All right. Who all's here tonight?
Everybody on the Parks Board is here. I think Alderman Hayes hopped on here, and the staff is all here. When we get to the maintenance report, we got Eddie Kemper with us.
Okay. Mr. Lamar join us tonight?
Graduation function.
Okay. All right. All right. I guess we are ready to call. Let's just call the Parks Board meeting for Monday, June 22nd to order. Can I get PA to do the Pledge of Allegiance?
Happy to.
Okay.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
which
which
stands
stands
one nation
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for
all.
Play ball.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Appreciate that. Thank you, PA. Appreciate it. All right. Do we have any citizens' comments?
No, sir.
Okay. I will take a motion to approve the minutes.
Make a motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Head makes a motion. Mr. Bennett seconds. Mr. Gilly, will you call the roll?
Sir, Mr. Head,
Yes.
Mr. White,
Yes.
Mr. Frank,
Yes.
Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
Mr. Pike,
Yes.
Mr. Bowler,
yes.
Mr. Perry. Trying.
Mr. Perry.
He's having technical difficulties.
Give us a thumbs up if you want to say yes. I don't know if you can do that or not. I don't know if we're allowed to do that or not.
I don't see him on my screen.
He's on, we just can't hear him. Bubba, can you hear us?
I think we have enough votes to approve the
Yep.
motion.
We do.
He texted me again. Andy said no audio.
Okay.
Sound off, Bubba, and redo it.
I'm gonna tell him to sign off and come back in. I believe you can move ahead while he's trying to figure it out, Mr. Chairman.
All right, so it passes. All right, Mr. Long, do you want to talk about the Connect Committee report?
Sure. Yeah, we met last month. It was a very, very positive meeting. Looks like both groups have agreed to move forward with the player development. And they're gonna push everything back a season basically. So with spring getting canceled, the plan that they were going to do in the spring, they've now moved to fall. And then next spring of 21, they're going to be full go working together on a player development program. So that was very positive. We have asked, and the two groups are supposed to get back together on doing a kind of joint press release announcing their the commitment to working together. We meet again on Wednesday of this week. So we're looking forward to getting that ironed out and that in the Hendersonville social media and on our websites and everything. So everything's going really well with this group. We did lose one member since last meeting. Jose has had to take a leave of absence for a while, so he was a good member for the rec side of things. So we'll be sad to see him go for a little bit, but we hope that he'll be able to join back in here and next spring. So unless Andy or Keith or Mike have anything else to add, that's all I really have on that.
Thank you, Mr. Long. Is there any questions for Mr. Long? All right. Old business, park project updates. Mr. Gilly.
Thank you. I made a note to talk about 3 big projects under this. We got little ones going on all over the place, but major ones coming up. We've got the hockey, inline hockey site plan will be going to the Planning Commission in August for approval. They're just about done working on that site plan. Mary's Magical Place, the flood protection is currently in the budget that's set to be voted on tomorrow night, coming out of stormwater utility money. Hopefully that will stay as is. The kicker there is we can't hardly do one without the other. Before we can start the berm project at Mary's Place, we got to know that we're going to be able to move the hockey rink. So that'll be something that will come up over the next month or two. And then we're also making moves to add the license plate tag reader cameras to Sanders Ferry Park and Volunteer Park. So that'll be a step towards a little more security there. Hopefully when we get through with that, we can go back and start adding just regular security cameras. I want to start at Drake's Creek and some of the high points in there once we get through with these tag readers first. Anybody has any questions, I'll take them.
Any questions for Mr. Gilly? All right. Let's go review the park budget. Mr. Gilly.
Yes, sir. I'm going to try to, you all had it in your packet. If anybody has any questions about it, one of the jobs you all are tasked with is to recommend approval of our budget. You know, to be perfectly honest, it's about as bare bones as we could make it at this point. If you're looking in your packet on page 9, handwritten number, at this point, we've cut out all new positions. We've cut out raises. We've cut out cost of living. We've cut back on what we requested for different line items, just because everybody's trying to do our part to get it down, kind of expecting, we don't know what to expect with the COVID hitting all the budgets. There are some line items that we increased. Some of that is based on moving some things around that should have been coming out of different line items to begin with. I'll just give you an example. If you look on page 9 there, supplies and tools is increasing $20,000, but that is because we've been buying paint out of maintenance of parks, and it really needs to be bought out of supplies. There's several things like that have been going on for a long time. We're trying to fix and get right so we can really kind of budget our expenses. If you look on page 10, it will show you several things that have been decreased over the past few weeks. And then on page 12 of your packet, actually page 13, I'm sorry. I think it's there. No, it's not. I keep telling you the wrong page. Page 14, handwritten in your packet. It's the Parks, Public Works, and Fire Department projects that were originally in the first reading, the first workshop of the budget, that have since been taken out and are being part of a proposed bond. That discussion, I doubt that'll be voted on tomorrow night. I think the discussion will come tomorrow night, but you can see some of the projects in there for the parks that we feel are vital. Some of them are critical to moving forward with some things. If anybody has any questions, I'll take them. I think we will need a motion to recommend approval of the parks budget, I think is how it would need to be worded.
Is there any questions for Mr. Gilly on the budget?
Mr. Pike? Mr.
Yes,
Pike,
Mr. White.
just a couple of questions. On page 14, Mr. Gilly, the stuff that's listed in there for 2021, is that, you say that's something, all of that's kind of lumped together into looking to maybe have a bond for that?
Be that and other things that aren't on this page. And that when it says 21, that means fiscal year 20.
What's about to happen.
Correct. That's
Yeah.
correct.
Has there been any discussion into some of our parking lots?
Those were heavily discussed. If you look back on page, back on page 12.
Yeah.
First of all, a little background. The Public Works Committee back last year voted to pave Memorial Park parking lot, either as a special project this coming year or out of supplemental paving this year. Well, supplemental paving's been put on hold until we get finances straight. And so we put, originally this list on page 12 is for the governor's local grant that they're giving out as far as financial relief for the COVID to the cities, 1.6 million or 1.3 million, I'm sorry. Parks was specifically excluded from the governor's grant at first. At this point, they've opened it up to where they've said, we're just going to give the cities the money. They're going to do what they want to with it. But when this list was finalized, at that point, Parks was kind of excluded. The only things that could be included were paving projects, basically. And you don't see those on the list. They were taken out. Memorial Park, and we had asked for the entrance at Drake's Creek Park there as you come in from Demos. They're in horrendous shape. I mean, they're basically somebody was going to get hurt. We did a lot of patching work this past week once we kind of knew where we were on the paving situation. So the Public Works really helped us out, got us some patchwork done. It should hold us through the summer, I think. But I'm just going to be real honest. These parking lots are to the point where they've got to be paved. They're atrocious. So I don't know what else to tell you other than it's not in the budget to pave any parking lots right now.
Any more questions for Mr. Gilly? All right, I will entertain a motion to recommend this budget. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion, we move.
All right, Mr. White makes a motion, we approve it. Does it need to be worded a certain way, Mr. Gilly, or is that okay?
I mean, you're not approving it. You're recommending that the Board of Mayor and Aldermen approve it.
Right.
So,
My motion is that we recommend this budget to be presented to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen.
okay, do I have a second?
Second,
Is that Mr. Head?
yes.
All right, with Mr. Gilly, take a roll, please.
Oh, no, Mr. Bolt, you don't get to vote yet. That's tomorrow night. Sorry. Mr. Head,
Yes.
Mr. White,
Yes.
Frank,
Yes.
Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
Mr. Pike,
Yes.
Bowler,
Yes.
Mr. Perry.
Yes.
There he is.
Hey,
Hey, Mr. Perry,
I was having some technical difficulties in here.
good to see you. All right, so passes unanimously. All right, moving on to the next, CPR for fall sports, Mr. Long.
Thank you, Mr. Pike. Yeah, we just want to bring back up the discussion that we had talked about probably 2 months ago, about kind of putting a stop with all of our CPR training for the summer leagues, summer programs, with everything going on with COVID. We wanted to come back to you and see if we can extend that out through this fall season. We just, with COVID and these numbers, changing every day, we still don't really feel safe to bring all these involved rooms, handling all the CPR dummies, touching them, breathing on them, and everything that goes on with CPR training. So we'd see if the board's okay with us moving forward of extending this postpone of CPR training through the fall.
Mr. Gilly, do we need a motion for that, or can y'all make that decision, that termination on your own?
I think since you all made a vote to mandate it, it probably would be prudent if you made a motion to not mandate it.
Okay. All right, do I entertain a motion to postpone the CPR training?
I think the way I would word it would be to postpone the CPR training until deemed safe for all clubs to participate.
All right.
Mr. Pike,
I'll make that motion.
PA, do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, Mr. Gilly, take the roll, please.
Pike,
Yes.
can there be any discussion on this?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes.
Yeah.
I just wanted a little clarification. Is it the availability of training, or is it that the instructors are concerned that would contribute to, like, would that be opposed to the guidelines, and a little bit more on why we would just dispense with that?
You're kind of breaking up there. I think you're asking if the instructor recommended this, or if we were. I don't know. I was having a hard time understanding what your question was.
Let me try that again then. Is it because there's not an availability of training, or did the instructor say, hey, it's just not safe to hold classes right now, or would we be in violation of whatever gathering sizes or like that out there right now?
No, it really has nothing to do with the instructor. The main instructor, I think, is ready to go whenever we give them the green light. We have basically closed off all the meeting rooms in the park from bringing people in and out, with their monthly meetings. And then if you're talking about bringing 200, 300, 400 coaches in and out of those meeting rooms, once, with these CPR trainings, we as a staff talked about and just felt like, we're not at a point yet where we feel comfortable having all these different coaches coming in and out of our rooms. And then in addition, touching all these different dummies and CPR dummies. I know fall baseball league alone, we had about 6 or 7 classes last year. So that's about 25 coaches per class, 6 or 7 classes touching those same dummies. And then you add soccer in there and softball and football and hockey. So if each individual league wants to still do their CPR training, we wouldn't have a problem with that. But we would not let them use the meeting rooms as a place to conduct those trainings, just because we don't want additional exposure coming in and out of those rooms.
All right. I understand that, and I don't necessarily. I just want to make sure that the right message to the public is communicated, because if we're here at the end of June, 2 months away from sports resuming, if we're not even taking our coaches, and we don't think it's safe for them to get together as grown adults or make those decisions for a training, how are we going to be able to open up sports leagues for kids and adults in the fall? I'm not challenging the decision at all. I just want to make sure that the message is correct, and we don't leave too many people to guess the wrong message with a decision like that. If that makes any sense.
I think it could be that we come back in a month or two and we say it's okay to do it. But as of right now, the governor hadn't even released contact sports like soccer and lacrosse and all that. I mean, we may be talking about a month or two. It could be. I just don't know. But.
Right, and I'm not trying to challenge the decision. I don't want the percentage a mixed message. That's it.
Yeah.
One additional thing is we got a big chunk of our coaches trained in this past year or so since we started doing this. And one thing that we've asked, or we will ask if we haven't spoken to already, of each league is to do your best to ensure each team has a certified coach or trained coach on each team. There's no. If we put it into this, there's no guarantee that every single team would have that, but I feel like 90% of our coaches have been trained in the past year, where we would be able to get most teams with a certified coach.
So, Mr. Chairman, I have a question for Andy or Dallas.
Okay.
Is there any legality that we have to come up on CPR training for our leagues, or is this just something we self-mandated when we did this?
This is something that we self-mandated. The board voted to do it. Legally, I don't believe so.
So there's not going to be, okay. All right. That was my main concern.
Okay, Mr. Franks, are you okay with your answers? Do you need any more discussion?
Mr. Pike, I think just to put my 2 cents in on this, I think the way it's worded, I think we're okay with this, because like Mr. Gilley said, we could come back in a meeting or two and decide that, yes, it's going to be okay to do it. But I think that if we do this for now, for planning purposes, we can do this and be okay with it, and then come back in a month or two and evaluate whether or not we want to continue with it. If we want to leave it where it is, then we just leave it alone. If not, we can change it and require the CPR training at that time.
Mr. Gilley, how about if PA words, we reword the motion and put revisit in 30 days, something like that, and then bring it back onto the board? I mean, we could bring it back on next month and look at it again to see where we are then.
We can do that. We just got to remember that as these leagues start, we can't just throw something on them that they're required to do with their coaches in a week's time.
I also think that staff is going to be better equipped with the timing and the kind of the immediate situation going on. I'd like to give them some leeway to really come to that decision, inform us. I'd like for us to be informed, but I don't know that I don't know that I need for them to come back and ask us to make another motion in a month or 2 months.
Okay.
What I have written down is CPR training postponed until deemed safe due to COVID-19. I guess I could add by staff if you made them on me.
that's what I was going to throw out there is this something similar to what we did at the last meeting where we gave the staff the capabilities of approving events, because things are happening so fast that if it's something that we could say that the staff, given your knowledge of when these leagues started, or is it an undue expectation at that point to have the CPR, or would it be okay to have it required? Is that something that we could, in a motion, offer up to the staff to make that call at that time?
I would say yes. Mr. Gilly, how do you feel about that?
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
That's maker. Mr. Bowler made the motion. I don't know who the second was. They would need to agree with that.
Okay, let's just redo the motion then. Mr. Franks, are you okay where we're at?
Yeah, and I'd also like to make the comment that I think that the nature of the CPR exercises lend itself to being more sensitive to how close we are than a game of baseball, for example.
All right, why don't you, any more discussion? PA, why don't you reword that and include the staff part of that?
So I'll make a motion to postpone the CPR classes, exercises until such point as the staff deems it, I don't know whether safe is the accurate term. Safe.
Okay, so we have a motion by PA. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is that Mr. Perry? Okay, Mr.
Yes.
Perry, second. All right, Mr. Gilly, will you take the roll?
Mr. Head,
Yes.
Mr. White,
Yes.
Frank,
Yes.
Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
Mr. Pike,
Yes.
Bowler,
Yes.
Perry.
Yes.
All right, that passes. All right, moving on to new business, events approved by staff. Mr. Gilly.
Yes, sir. On page 15 in your packet. When we met last month and you all gave us the ability as a staff to approve of events and reschedules and things like that. We had no idea. I can promise you, we had no idea what that was going to lead to. And you can see the floodgate that had opened up. All these things on page 15 are things that were not on our schedule when we met last month, that have been added to or moved around a little bit, but most of them are brand new things that have come to us to add. You know, over the last 3 weeks, for example, there's been times when we've had 3 different tournaments going on in the park at the same time. So I feel like, you know, our department is doing its part to kind of put the city on its back right now in terms of reopening the economy. I can't tell you how many emails I've gotten from restaurants, how many phone calls I've gotten from hotel owners thanking us for doing what we're doing. I think we've done it in as safe a way as we possibly can. Nobody knows all the right answers. We're certainly doing it within what the governor is allowing for. And there's still some sports that aren't even getting to play games or practice like they want to yet. So, I mean, soccer can't play games yet. Inline hockey can't do it yet. So hopefully July 1, they'll be back to normal too. The current governor's order runs out June the 30th. We have kind of slowed down over the last few days as far as the mad rush of people wanting to get new things approved. But if anybody has any questions about any of these events, we'll be glad to take them.
Out of curiosity, I know, did the secondary lacrosse tournament that was coming, are they still on to come, Mr. Long?
Yes, they're still planning. We were just emailing with them earlier today about about some plans for them. So they're still set up for that first weekend of August. The other Lacrosse America was scheduled July 4th weekend. They canceled, but they have already scheduled to be on the books for 21.
Well, just asking about lacrosse as a new sport, I just didn't want to lose both of them. So knowing that we might and would understand why, but all right. I know baseball's up and going for what I've seen in the park. It's on the weekends that you can tell the travel teams are out and about. So, any questions for Mr. Gilly? All right. All right, so now for our information special events list, we've already looked at that. All right, we'll move on to staff reports. Ms. Hamlin, Recreation Coordinator.
Hello, everybody. So what I'm working on right now is we are doing our Ray of Sunshine care packages that we are delivering to the people that chose to participate in it. I have limited staff that is coming on Mondays, and we're preparing the packages. And then on Wednesday, we drive around to their homes and deliver it. This is an example here of a package that we have for this week.
Awesome.
And then in it, we have activity sheets and color sheets to go along with each theme, games that they can do centered around the theme. We have challenges for them to do. We have minute to win it game ideas. We provide them with snacks and water. We give them tasks to do, like load the dishwasher, unload the dishwasher. And then they have an alphabet exercise sheet that has different things that go along with the letters of the alphabet, and we give them different words to spell out each week. So this week it's splish, splash, because our theme is water and floating right along. And then we do a favorite pick to share. Like one week it was your favorite hat. Last week your funniest socks or craziest socks. And then this week it's beach attire. So week 1, it was welcome and Father's Day. Week 2 was bubbles. Week 3, which is now, is floating right along. Next week it'll be red, white, and blue. And then we, have 2 weeks after that. I have asked the parents to take pictures and send to us, and I've sent those to Kristen, and she's going to be getting those on the Facebook page so you can see kind of the things that they're doing. We all do wear a mask for safety when we deliver everything. We were lucky enough last week to have a parent who had provided us a little meal when we got there. We take pics as we arrive, and then coming next would be the preschool track meet for 3, 4, and 5-year-olds, and it is scheduled for Sunday, October 18th. And so we'll see where we are at that point as to what will be happening with the preschool track meet and what kind of guidelines we need to adhere to. Any questions?
Any questions for Ms. Hamlin? Great job, Ms. Hamlin. Appreciate what you do. All right. Recreation Coordinator, Mr. Evans.
All right, what's going on, everybody? This is the last week of our signups for our Fall Baseball League. We currently have 187 signed up, which is good. Last year we had about a little over 300, so we're right on pace. And then also our all of our adult leagues that we're going to offer in this fall, the signups are live as well too. So we have co-ed and open softball, and then we have co-ed kickball. And if anybody's out there and doesn't have a team, you can sign up as a free agent, and we'll help you find a team, or you can play on one of ours. And then really just been helping with our 3rd of July event, all the social media, and make sure all the tickets are right. So that's been the big thing. Tomorrow we're actually announcing our lineup for our artists too.
All right. Any questions for Mr. Evans? Nice shirt, Mr. Evans. I like the flair that you bring tonight to the meeting.
Thank you.
All right. Special events program supervisor, Ms. Wise.
Hi, everybody. As Andy said, we've had a busy month, and it's still not going to end anytime soon. This past Saturday, we had our first fishing tournament this year. It had about 43 boats. It was the Crappie USA. We also had our first tennis tournament this weekend, the USTA Junior One-Day Novus. We've had numerous baseball and softball tournaments going on every weekend this month, including Game 7, GMB, USSSA, Natty Elite, and Music City. And then Kicking World reached out to us last week about having a kicking camp in our park. So they had their first kicking camp in our park on Friday. They had about 22 athletes who participated. And then we also had the Borderless Arts of Tennessee have their drive-through art exhibit back on June 6th, and it was a huge hit, so much so that they are going to do it again this fall. And then, of course, we've had several events, unfortunately, cancel this month due to COVID. Coming up, tomorrow night, we have our Smart Steps dance recital. There's going to be a mixture of pop, jazz, tap performances from ages 5 and up. We also have our big Game 7 Nationals tournament this weekend. Music City will also be going on this weekend. And then our annual Striped Stars and Guitars event on July 3rd, followed up by Music City, Game 7, USA, GMB, and our annual big PGF Southeastern Championship tournament is going on in July. But you can see there's a lot going on, and it's not going to slow down anytime soon, which is
Thank
good.
you, Ms. Wise. Is there any questions for Ms. Wise? I do have one, Ms. Wise, on the art exhibit. How did it work, them setting it up and picking it up, getting it gathered back up? Nothing tore up, nothing, it all worked pretty smooth. I
They
saw
did
them
all
out there setting it up, so.
Yeah. They took care of all of that.
That's pretty awesome. That's
They
a
had
great,
people drive through, and then they also had people walk up and walk through it as well.
that's
So,
pretty good to have something new and different down there in that park, so.
yep,
All right, thank you, Ms. Wise.
you're welcome.
All right, Assistant Maintenance Supervisor, Mr. Kemper.
Got him. I got to unmute him here. Let's see if I can unmute him.
I'm on there now.
You're on there.
I'm sorry, I can't get my camera to work for whatever reason. But I don't have a lot of stuff to bring to the table. Basically, we're just up and running in the park right now with our tournaments. We've had for the last 3 weekends, we've been slammed, which I think is great. We've went anywhere from 65 teams to 140 teams. This coming weekend, I think Mr. Gilly said we're going to be 150 teams. So it's pretty crazy. We're doing overall. I think the maintenance staff's doing a great job. We've had a few small glitches, nothing major. Overall, everything's been running good. I think it's going to take the guys a little while to get used to this kind of what we're going on right now with everybody calling Mr. Gilly, but our park's open, so they're coming. So I think that's what we want. This coming weekend, we've got a tournament that I think we're supposed to have, 150 teams. So that's probably, since I've been at the parks department, I think that's the biggest, more teams than we've ever had. And I think we'll handle it pretty good. Other than that, I think next week, rather, I think we're going to try to start opening up the playgrounds. We've got COVID signs made to put in place for social distancing. We've got stationary hand sanitizers that we're going to put there for people to use as they need. And other than that, we're really going to be busy from now till looks like when it snows. So I don't know. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, Mr. Kemper. Is there any questions for Mr. Kemper? Anybody want to ask him anything?
Mr. Pike, it's not a question, but I want to let Eddie know, and I'm down there at the park quite a bit, and I try to let the guys know, but I have, over the past couple of weeks, I have had several people go out of their way to make a point of how good everything down there looks and how well maintained everything has been throughout all of these events down there that have opened back up, and that people are really complimenting the guys down there, the job they're doing. And it used to be when somebody would stop you and go, "You're on the parks board, aren't you?" It was like you kind of cringe a little bit. But now I've had people go out of their way to pay these guys a compliment, and I've encouraged them to go down there and tell them themselves. And I try to, but I just wanted Eddie, you to know that, and the guys know that people are noticing what's going on down there and how well everything's being done.
Well, Mr. White, I want to thank you very much.
Well, I will second that, Nathan. I was going to tell Eddie, times I've went through and that first big major baseball tournament that we had, I guess it was the first one. It was the first one I saw. I couldn't believe there was that many people in there. And I didn't see trash around. I didn't see anything going back through it after everybody was gone. And I wanted to tell Mr. Kemper, I know we say it all the time, but I don't think we can ever say it enough of the job they do down there. It can be a thankless job. I did it a little bit part-time at one time in my working career, and it can be. I do have one question. Could be for Mr. Kemper, Mr. Gilly. I've noticed that the volleyball courts are ramping up. Is there anything that we need to do over there or concerned about, or are we doing everything we need to do there?
As far as what do you mean?
Well, what I mean is there anything we need to do protection wise or anything? We've got everything taken care of, the volleyball courts. I just see a lot of people starting to use them. So that's all I ask.
They're being well used. The biggest thing we could do for volleyball courts would be to raise them up where they don't flood all the time. But
that's true.
Or install drainage underneath them, or build some more somewhere else.
Very true.
They just need to. We just need them in a different place, honestly. But those are good for what their purpose is, which is having kids out there getting together and doing recreation with spotlights on them right by Gallatin Road, where everybody can probably a little safer.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Kemper. We appreciate what you do, man.
Well, thank you.
All right. Assistant Director. Oh, Mr. Long.
Thank you, Mr. Pike. We've asked all of our leagues to provide their kind of guidelines of social distancing and how they're going to get back to playing. So that is something that some of the leagues have already submitted and some are currently working on. Tennessee United put together a very thorough plan. I know they had doctors and nurses and all kinds of different people in the community participated in that, and it was a very good one. So we shared it with all of our leagues. Tennessee United got back out this past month. They had some training sessions. They did cancel their June camp. And then last week they had their tryouts. So I think everything went very well with that. And then they are still looking to have their July camp, their team camp in July. So hopefully we'll be able to allow contact sports again here pretty soon. We have a few other sports that are just kind of waiting on the governor to allow that. I know Hendersonville High School has their 3v3 tournament in July. The lacrosse league is looking to have a senior game in July if we're allowed to start playing. And then football is still trying to figure out what they're going to do when they're going to start up. They are looking to do conditioning here pretty soon. So, but everything other than that, everything is going well.
Thank you, Mr. Long. Any questions for Mr. Long? Thank you, Mr. Long. All right, Assistant Director, Mr. Bruce.
Thank you, Mr. Pike. Just a couple of notes from things going on. Been doing a lot with the Civitan practices for the open teams, the ones that got sort of rained out, or not rained out, but necessarily with the virus and everything. We've got a bunch of those rescheduled in the month of June. Everyone's favorite, the senior men, they started games last week, got Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday in. So everybody has played a couple games in the senior guys. Still waiting for Bubba to show up. A couple of people I heard say they were looking for Bubba to come out and hit a little bit. Hockey started some preliminary stuff last week. No contact, because they're one of the contact sports, just doing some basic conditioning out on the rinks. So if you see the lights on Monday through Friday, that's what they're doing. Their staff member or board members out there with them. We've also, as I think everybody in this call knows, the one hockey rink is just barely standing. We've done 2 or 3 maintenance things on it the last 2 weeks. We've got one more going. Going to try to tie that one end to the poles that's leaning pretty good on the end towards Mary's Magical Place. Going to try to tie it back to those net poles and straighten that wall back up. We've replaced the gates, the big gate at the end. Someone tore that down off the top of it, probably trying to get into the rinks. And then we've also actually redid the flooring, the edging on the flooring. The guys came twice and recut it. So Andy and I joke it's the money pit, but we just got to keep fixing it until we can get something else built down the road. Fast pitch signups still going on, along with Wade's summer league, fall league. Hopefully the fall fast pitch will be doing a fall league. And then the other big thing we've been doing, or I've been doing, is trying to schedule the tournaments field by field. I know Mr. Head waits every week patiently for me to give him some concession stand dates and times. So we've done a lot of scheduling, a lot of good issues to have to try to fit in 150 teams for Eddie this weekend. Last I counted, Eddie, it was 160 this afternoon. So it will be a busy weekend.
160?
160 teams as of right now.
Woo! Whoa.
Are we just going to play from 6 a.m. to midnight?
Yeah. So I guess. So I guess instead of coming at 5, we'll have to come in like at 4.
I would say we'll start at 8 on every field.
At 8?
I would say so.
Golly, we need to make it 9. All right. My guys are gonna love this.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Pike.
Thank you, Mr. Bruce. Any questions for Mr. Bruce? All right. Parks Director, Mr. Gilly.
A lot of the things I was going to touch on in this little section have already been covered. We talked about July 3rd event. We talked about Smart Steps tomorrow. That's going to be a huge deal at Sanders Ferry Park. We talked about playgrounds. Our intention is to reopen those next week, next Monday. There'll be more about that. We've talked about how many teams we've had, and what I would say to you all is just to echo, our maintenance staff has been phenomenal the whole time, and our office staff have been phenomenal the whole time since March. The care and concern that Miss Hamlin has had for her program that's been able to keep going. We've had compliments in the office on that, what she's been able to do for those kids. The easy way out for all of this would have been to just cancel stuff and move on. That would have been the easy way out. I don't think you all want that. I don't think our city is like that. And I know that our staff is not like that. So I'm proud of them and proud of what we're doing right now. We'll just do the best we can to do the best we can, basically. Thank you all. Hopefully this might be our last Zoom meeting. We'll see if we can get back in person next month.
Thank you, Mr. Gilly. Any questions for Mr. Gilly?
I don't have a
Yes,
question for the distinguished gentleman from Hendersonville, but I did just want to say that phrase out loud.
Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. PA. Appreciate it. All right, I guess we're on to roundtable. All right. Mr. Bolt, you have anything?
No, sir. I'm good. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Head. Mr. White.
Just one thing, I'm curious, Mr. Perry, are we insinuating we might be seeing a Sunny Street?
Yeah, he's going to come in. Yeah, he's going to come in after the show here because he was 5 or 10 minutes late. So
Okay, all right.
It's his fault.
Okay, nothing.
I think Mr. Head had something.
Yes, I do.
Mr. Head.
Yeah. Is there any way that we could, as a board, either extend or not have the leagues report a mid-year, since there really wasn't anything other than having soccer do their annual year end in June, which is their year end, because most of the other leagues didn't even have anything from January to now until just recently, and basically whatever they took in, they refund it right back out for the most part.
good question. Mr. Gilly, legally, what are we required to do?
I think you would need a motion to tell the groups that, well, other than soccer being their year-end report, they would need to make that in July, and the other groups, what do you think, Mr. Head, would be appropriate? Just reporting in January after the fall season?
Personally, I don't see no harm in just letting it go to January and letting them do because we don't really know. Hopefully we get to continue the momentum we've started with the tournaments the last 3 weeks, and everybody has a fall season and we have a great second half of the year. I don't see a reason why we couldn't go and just make the exception for this year due to this extenuating circumstances. We're going to postpone a mid-year review except for soccer to give in their year-end review, and that everybody will do their report in January and we'll resume normal in 2021.
Yeah, I think that's your all's decision. So,
Mr. Gilly, real quick, can we make that motion from the round table? Are we good? Are we okay with that?
I mean, we pretty much butchered Robert's Rules of Order a long time ago.
We did. Well, Mr. Head, would you like to make that motion and word it the proper way then?
I'd like to make a motion that we postpone the mid-year review except for soccer, since it's their year end, and allow them to go ahead and do their year end review in June. And that all the other groups do not have to do a mid-year review for 2020 and will report as normal in January of 2021, and will resume mid-year reviews in 2021.
All right, I have a motion.
Second.
Second. Who seconded?
Me.
Mr. Bennett seconded. Mr. Gilly, will you call roll, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Head.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Mr. Frank.
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Bennett.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Bowler.
Yes.
Mr. Perry.
Yes.
All right. Well, we'll move on through the round table then. Mr. White, did you finish yours?
Yes, I'm good.
Okay. Mr. Franks.
I'm good.
All right. Mr. Bennett.
It was great to see the park full last weekend. Glad to see that all the stuff that you guys have got going forward. Keep up the good work. Thank you.
Bowling.
Yeah, I've got one thing. I may be the last guy in Hendersonville to do this, but I'd like to acknowledge what a treasure that Coach Russ Plummer's been, not only to Hendersonville, but he's raised the level of soccer across the state. Right, to say he was a treasure in Hendersonville and Sumner County is really underselling. But he's a fantastic competitor, and when I first came into the coaching realm here at Beach, he met with me one-on-one, and never forget that. He's a good man.
Thank you, Mr. Bowling. Mr. Perry.
Once again, sorry I was having some trouble there getting in. I was here, just couldn't hear you or see you guys. Can't, like Mr. Gilly said, I can't wait till we get back together up at City Hall. That's it's going to be a good time. Guys, thank you all. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Mr. Perry. I just want to go ahead and tell the whole entire staff, and from the people down at the park, the maintenance people through our whole staff, I think we have one of the best. We say it all the time, but I don't think we can say it enough. I think we have one of the best park staff around. And after what in these uncertain times right now, to pull off what we're pulling off and to make it look like it's looking down there at the park is a tribute to all of y'all. And I want to thank you I think I can speak for the whole board in thanking all of y'all for what you do every day.
Yes, sir.
I guess I will make a motion. I'm going to entertain a motion to end the Parks Board meeting.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn, but I didn't know if Mr. Bolt or Mr. Hayes might.
Oh, I asked Mr. Boat, he didn't, but Mr. Hayes, I'm sorry.
I'm good.
I just amen what you said, Mike Pike. I appreciate you and the board, and it was great to see all those teams coming in here, and just thank you all. By the way, y'all are the most fun board.
Yeah,
and the
that's
best
true.
camaraderie anywhere.
Well, thank you.
Think about who you're comparing to some of these boards, though, so.
Right, Andy.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hayes. So, Mr. White, you are making a motion. Do I have a second? We are adjourned. Before we go, Mr. Gilly and Mr. Long, will you please call me, please?
We got to call the roll on the adjourn.
Oh, I'm sorry. I butchered it again.
Who seconded that?
Unacceptable.
I did.
Unacceptable.
I got
Jimmy.
Thank you.
Mr. Head,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Frank,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Bennett,
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Pike,
Yes.
Bowler,
Yes.
Mr. Perry.
Yes.
We stand adjourned.
Thank you.
We'll call you in a minute, Mr.
All right,
Pike.
man. Thank you.
Sonny says bye.
Bye-bye.
See you next month.
Well.